AI is becoming more human than humans. Today we are getting 40% productivity improvement using AI. The world that we have created over the last couple of thousand years is going to change and unravel because of AI over the next 15, 20 years. 300 million knowledge worker jobs will be lost, 30 million blue collar worker jobs will be lost. Those are big numbers over the next 5 years. AI age is the end of the era of jobs, but it also heralds the era of entrepreneurs. Worst way to encourage entrepreneurship is to have a course in entrepreneurship. It is not that we tapak ke entrepreneur paida hota hai. It is also a journey, has to be nurtured, but the process of doing that is very different and is probably not in the classroom. With AI, it is becoming very efficient to solve something. There is an assumption, and it's a very, very wrong assumption that your work is something which consumes energy. For me, it creates energy.
Truly an honor to be talking to you today, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, first of all. And out of the three books that we just spoke about that you've written, what makes this one stand out is that it talks about the one thing that still sets humanness apart from AI, which is the humanness of humans, as simple as it gets. There's no conversation today that's complete without talking about artificial intelligence. You know, today we've had sessions with one HR veteran. Then we were just talking to a director in the Tata Group, Mr. Harish Bhatt. Throughout these conversations, regardless of which industry leader you might be talking to, you can't have a conversation without talking about AI, because it's one thing that's impacting all industries and that's impacting possibly every level of the professionals that we are currently concerned about. So tell us about how this book gives us this one important insight, that we don't have to fight AI in its core competency, which is being skilled at the technological part of it, but we have to get ahead of artificial intelligence using our humanness, which are the things that you've spoken about.
Yeah. So we are in the AI age, and it's not a surprise that all conversations are driven by AI. See, AI is part of a continuum. It's not something that happened suddenly. There are multiple technologies that have fed into it. And that's kind of the sequence of books that I've written, digital, winning in the digital age, and then mastering the data paradox. So digital and data, and then AI. I call them the trifecta. Sometimes I also call them the Tridev. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They feed into each other. But my first two books, were really business and technology books. But when I started to think about AI, I realized the question in front of us was a lot more profound than just a business or a technology question. I could see that AI is not just any other technology trend. This is not the same as internet or cloud. This is a very profound change. This is, if you have to compare it, we have to compare it with the wheel, fire, electricity, locomotive engine. It is, that order of magnitude. And it is something, which is going to impact the direction of humanity in very significant ways. It could be positive, it could be negative. Either is true. And I saw that AI is becoming more human than humans. Yeah. Because the really, we can say that AI today is does some things, may not be able to do some things. There are biases, there are inaccuracies, there is hallucination. But AI has got one very incredible feature, which is it is constantly learning. And anything in the world, which is constantly learning and compounding is unstoppable.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what AI is. And that's where it is getting stronger and stronger. But equally, we as humans are perhaps becoming narrower.
Yeah.
And that is the issue I saw, and the manifestation that I saw of this issue. End of the day, I'm a data guy. I'm an engineer at heart. And for me, I need to look at data, to see if this is real or not. And the data I saw was quite stark, that over the next 15 years, 35 to 50% of all jobs in the world will perhaps not be there.
Right.
And that to me was a very profound and से बोलते हैं ना कि मेरे को उसने एकदम झंझोड़ दिया मेरे को. कुछ ऐसे इमोशंस होते हैं जो सिर्फ हिंदी में एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हो आप. So it really shook me, and I felt that before I write about business and technology, I have to write about this. I have to write about this, because why are more people not talking about this? We cannot just let ourselves submit ourselves to that force. We have to do something about it. And then as I introspected and kind of reflected, I realized that doing something about it was not about AI.
Yes.
Was us as humans, and doubling down on that. So sorry, a little bit of a long answer, but yeah, this is the background, why I felt that answering the human question, which is what I have done in my third book, and it's a very different book, it's a more personal book. That's the way I should go as opposed to writing another business and technology book.
Your long answer has given us a lot of things to talk about. We'll unpack those one by one. But first, I want to pick on that one thing that you mentioned, that even artificial intelligence is becoming human now. There's an effort to make AI sound like humans, write like humans, behave like humans. And that reminds me of this one trick that we used to use back in college. If we used to use ChatGPT or any other AI platform for our assignments, we would ask it to humanize the language. We would actually use these words. I don't know how many of you have done this, but we'd ask AI to humanize the language of the assignment that it is written, and it would do that. So at a time when artificial intelligence is so developed, you have focused on how we need to stop being a part of that race, which AI is going to inevitably win. We need to stop worrying about the jobs that it's going to take and focus on the jobs that it's going to create. And very interestingly, you talk about things like spirituality, like emotions, like empathy, which can never be replicated by artificial intelligence. As you said, this is not something that you hear a very hardcore data guy, engineer talk about. Being the COO of Flipkart, previously at McKinsey, what really made you feel like we need to step beyond trying to get newer skills to beat AI and start focusing on our innate humanness? What was that final trigger or lever, so to speak, if there was one?
See, I don't know if it was one trigger. I am seeing this, not just in, I look for evidence. I'm very driven by evidence. So I'm seeing it in my clients, but I'm also seeing it in my own business. प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण की क्या आवश्यकता है? What is evident, right? So I'm seeing that, like in our work, software development, technology, and we are doing cutting edge work. Today we are getting 40% productivity improvement using AI. And that is over the last 12 months. So this is, abhi to kahani shuru hui hai. This 40% will likely go to 80%. And when there is a slogan that software is eating software, that the language of software is no more going to be Java or .NET or even Python, but the language of software is going to be English. ये अतिशयोक्ति नहीं है. This is not an exaggeration. This is a reality, and this is a reality I see in my business every day. And that's to me is a trigger, or is very, very obvious. And when I've reflected on that, a lot of people frame the conversation around AI in existential terms. Ki in very dystopian or utopian. Dystopian ki there will be this AGI और सिंगुलैरिटी, बड़े बड़े वर्ड्स हैं जो मेरे को भी अच्छी तरह समझ नहीं आते हैं, और ये पता नहीं AI सब कुछ will eat everything and all of that, or we are like an ostrich who bury our head in sand. And I think either of those extreme positions actually does a great disservice to doing something about AI, because when you take either of those two positions, then it doesn't lead to any action. अगर है कि डिस्टोपियन है कि सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा तो लगता है कि चलो फिर क्या करना है, या है कि इसका तो नहीं AI तो कुछ नहीं है. देखो ये AI, मैंने चैट GPT को सवाल पूछा था, इट वाज क्या आंसर आया और मैंने कितना अच्छा करा. See, neither of those positions really helps, okay? So there is a reality which is 0-1, between 0-1, which we need to focus on. Now, what I've seen is that jobs will go. That's a reality which we can't do much about, because the reality is that almost any job out there, including the CEO's job,
Yes.
there is a lot of bullshit. There is a lot in any job out there which is waste.
And once we progress, there are some jobs that are bound to be redundant in any industry.
वो तो होगा ही होगा प्रियांशी, but जो भी हम करते हैं, there is a reality. There is a reality that any job there is waste. Why should that waste not go? And AI is simply a trigger for that waste to be pushed out. Yeah. But at the same time, with AI, every industry will get disrupted, not just like banking or retail, but entertainment. Your industry is getting disrupted. Education, healthcare, even agriculture, every industry will get disrupted. Yeah? And that is actually a great opportunity. Because as industries get disrupted, they will create thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of problem statements, which are opportunities for entrepreneurs. Yeah. So the headline for me, which I want everybody to understand, yeah, आप यहाँ पे आए हो तो ये headline ज़रूर लेके जाओ, is that AI age is the end of the era of jobs, but it also heralds the era of entrepreneurs.
Yes. That's what you've said in your book as well.
Yeah, no, that is the main message. And then, everything follows from that. Because for the last, see, we should also understand, अब लोग बोलते हैं कि not everybody can be an entrepreneur. And I say, यार ये किसने बोला है? Because this phenomenon of jobs at scale is a phenomenon of only the last couple of 100 years. This is only post the Industrial Revolution. Pre the Industrial Revolution, most people were what you would call self-employed.
Yes.
ठीक है? अब पिछले कुछ सदियों से हमें इतनी लत लग गई है जॉब की, because we have become very conditioned, we have become very risk averse. Yeah. So now to compete in this age of AI, we have to go back almost. Yeah. We have to go back to the pioneering instincts of the early man.
Right.
The early man was not looking, had a very uncertain world to face, and for that they had to be adventurous, they had to be very, very, very creative, they had to be risk takers. I'm not saying that we are going back to being cave dwellers. But in a sense, the world that we have created over the last couple of 100 years, maybe couple of 1,000 years, is going to change and unravel because of AI over the next 15, 20 years.
Right.
Not more than that. And that requires that pioneering, adventurous instincts. It's not different. It's not something, that we don't have. It's almost जैसे ना कि एक rust लग गया है, and we have to scrape off that rust from our human instincts. And that is the essence that I'm trying to focus on.
Right. So I'm going to come to the entrepreneurship a bit later. पर जो मैं एक सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ इस पॉइंट पर कि जैसे जब टेलीविज़न आया, जब टेलीविज़न न्यूज़ आई, आई टॉक अबाउट माय इंडस्ट्री, तब सबने कहा कि न्यूज़पेपर्स अब कोई नहीं पढ़ेगा. पर अभी तक भी न्यूज़पेपर्स भी लोग पढ़ते हैं, टेलीविज़न भी देख रहे हैं. फिर जब डिजिटल न्यूज़ आई तो लोगों ने कहा टीवी कोई नहीं देखेगा, पर टीवी भी लोग अभी भी देख रहे हैं. तो ये बातें बहुत कही जाती हैं जो अभी कहा जा रहा है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस आ गया. इवन द IMF has said that 40% of jobs globally are going to be at risk because of artificial intelligence. So do you think this is one of the biggest myths about artificial intelligence, that it's coming for your jobs, that it's a threat to you? क्या ये सबसे बड़ा मिथ है कि हम उसको एक अपने दुश्मन या एक थ्रेट की तरह देख रहे हैं rather than seeing it as an opportunity?
See, there are two things here, Priyanshi. I would like you to, just let's be clear about it. First, there are 2 points. One is that will it impact jobs?
Yes, of course.
And the second is it an enemy? Okay? There are 2 different questions. I would urge you and everybody to disaggregate those 2 things.
Yes, absolutely.
It will impact jobs.
Yes.
It will impact jobs. There is no doubt about it. It is impacting jobs today. It is impacting jobs. India's biggest export is the technology services industry. It is impacting jobs as we speak. We are not talking about it. Enough. What is happening in technology will happen in customer service, will happen in banking, will happen in healthcare, will happen in entertainment. So it will happen, okay? But it does not mean AI is an enemy, because if that's the only aspect of AI you focus on, that is ठीक है फिर आप करते रहो मतलब that is a negative path. But equally, what we are not having enough conversation about, and that's what I want us to focus on. Many people, they say ki, oh, Nitin is being too optimistic. He's, taking a glass half full. Arey Baba, what option do we have but to be glass half full? AI will also create opportunities. AI will create opportunities to solve new problems or to solve problems that have not been solved earlier, which is a huge opportunity. And that is the aspect we should focus on, and that is where we have to accept AI. We have to make it a friend. We have to see how we are going to leverage it. Because अगर हमने AI को भूत बना के हम रखेंगे, तो और किसी का नुकसान नहीं है, हमारा नुकसान है और भारतवर्ष का नुकसान है.
Right. So let's talk about the net effect here, sir. जो आपने कहा कि jobs definitely impact होंगी और दूसरी तरफ opportunities भी create होंगी, तो हमें इन दो चीज़ों को अलग रखना चाहिए. आपके हिसाब से उसका net effect positive है या negative है? Is what I want to understand. जो jobs impact होंगी, क्या वो सिर्फ quantity में होंगी? और आप कह रहे हैं कि number of jobs will go down, but the quality of jobs might improve. But in a country like India, where we are more labor-centered compared to other developed countries, don't you think we need more jobs? We need.
I did not say that quantity will go down. Quality.
No, that's a question.
Quality
I'm
of
not
it.
saying.
No, actually, it is even. First, let me put the scary part, and then I'll come to the other part. The scary part is that AI is going to impact the white-collar jobs more.
Yes.
Okay. अभी तक हमने एक ये था कि technology से, with any technology revolution, we move up the value chain. ठीक है. AI से उल्टा है. For over the next 5 years, the research that I've done, 300 million knowledge worker jobs will be lost, 30 million blue collar worker jobs will be lost. Those are big numbers over the next 5 years. So for every single blue collar worker job lost, 10 white collar worker jobs will be lost. These are the jobs of management consultant, software developer, researcher, lawyer, marketing professional, जो हमें आज की दुनिया में जो हमें लगता है ना कि this is what we aspire for, those are the jobs that will actually be lost. तो ये quality, quantity ये दोनों पे इसका दोनों पे impact है. Now the thing about the net effect, okay, see, it's very difficult to answer that today. I think what we will lose is more evident and may happen faster. What we will create, now creation, there are two aspects, value creation and job creation. I think that is less clear, okay. I can say with some confidence that the value creation will be very high, okay. Value creation will be very high because we are with AI, it is becoming very efficient to solve something. So there is a lot of conversation about single person billion-dollar companies.
Yes.
And we haven't seen that today, but I think in the next couple of years, we're not far away. ठीक है? So there is also enough evidence and enough conversation, in the investing world, that the next 10 years is going to be the most profound from a value creation perspective. तो इसका मेरे को काफ़ी, I'm quite confident about that. But मेरे को लगता है कि even if there is a lot of entrepreneurial activity, it needs like a tsunami of entrepreneurship. It is not normal level of entrepreneurial activity.
Right.
उसके बावजूद भी, I think there will be a net negative.
A net negative. Okay. And now coming to another point that you mentioned, in the next 10 years, how do you think being an entrepreneur is going to be different from what it is today? Because for the longest time, being a tech-first company could still be a choice for an entrepreneur. But for the next few years to come, do you think that's going to be a non-negotiable?
It's actually the other way around, Priyanshi. Again, people don't understand AI properly. There are a lot of myths and a lot of, half-baked knowledge. AI is very easy to use, okay? AI is very, very easy to use. The only thing you need to know to to use AI is English language. Yeah. So there is a lot of conversation about haves, not, have-nots. कि जिसको टेक्नोलॉजी आता है उसको फ़ायदा है, जिसको नहीं आता उसको नुकसान है. See, most of the opportunity with AI is in what I call the application layer, at least in our country. Okay, there is an AI infrastructure which is very capital intensive and very technology intensive, which is where the NVIDIA sits, which is where OpenAI sits, which is where AWS or Google sit. That is perhaps not the big opportunity for Bharat. The big opportunity for Bharat is in the application layer, which is using this AI infrastructure to solve for all of these industry problems. That is the opportunity, and I don't think that is necessarily, you need to, of course, be tech literate. You need to embrace AI. Don't consider it as a bhoot. Yeah. But it is not about being like a techie. In fact, see, what we need to realize is that the world of technology and computer science is changing very quickly. Now, every education institution I go to, they very proudly share with me that, see, this is our Department of Computer Science. And we have set up a new curriculum in AI. And I say, oh my God, you should be teaching your students physics and maths. Elon Musk is tweeting that every day, that don't teach coding, teach maths and physics. Because again, the world of technology is changing so rapidly, we need to understand it. The world of technology is moving from building technology. Building is going to be for a few, okay, to consuming technology. Consuming technology doesn't need you to be a software, to be a computer scientist. Consuming technology means that you need to understand the problem statements. You need to, and to understand problem statements, you need to know something about something. Some industry, some functional area which you understand well. So that is the shift which is needed. That just from, just like एक भेड़ चाल में कि हमने भी computer science कर ली, and and if I have done it, I will be able to do a venture. No, yeah, good, you have done computer science, but you will be better off, building some real domain understanding.
Very interesting. So institutes coming up with these AI courses or people doing certificate courses in artificial intelligence, you don't fully think that that's the right way to go about it. So then how should the system change to make young Indians better prepared for this?
It's a very big question, and that's one of the things I talk a lot in the book. The nature of learning, Priyanshi, has to change.
But not like how it's changing currently with these courses
I
that
think
are
we are
being added.
completely missing the bus.
Yeah.
We are not thinking, we are not connecting the dots. Number one, the half-life of any technical skill is reducing. Okay, if it was 10 years, now it is 2 years. So the most important skill is learning to learn. Yeah. There has to be a move from the hard skills to the soft skills. The soft skills that are going to be most important are problem solving, creativity, empathy, or working with people. Yeah. See, again, if once you internalize the headline that AI age is the end of the era of jobs, but heralding the era of entrepreneurs, then everything will fall into place, no? Because today the education system, and as parents, all the signals that we are giving consciously or subconsciously are about job. When the jobs are not going to go to zero, but if they're reducing by 40, 50, 60%, it's a dramatically different world. And yet there is a new opportunity around entrepreneurship. It needs very different skills. And that is the big shift that needs to happen. Maybe that shift for an education institution is not about the classroom.
Yes.
It's not about the curriculum. Yesterday I was at a large university in Chennai, and what I was sharing with them was that you need to be thinking about creating an ecosystem. That more than the curriculum, what will be helpful and important is that you connect, you build an ecosystem which has which has startups, which has venture capitalists, and you create that ecosystem. Like when I look at Silicon Valley, and why America, despite its many issues, is still managing to drive a lot of innovation, is that if you look at like Silicon Valley, you have Berkeley and you have Stanford. And yeah, they are great institutions with great, range of curriculum, and you can, there are things also to learn in that, how cross-functional, the curriculum is and so on. But the main point is the ecosystem. So my son, who has just joined Berkeley, yeah, he's going to the class, but already he has been to like 10 startup events, and see, that is, I think, what is going to be necessary. And I think a lot of those building blocks are there in India now, but I think we have to consciously connect the dots. I think, again, for the education institutions, the content has to change very significantly, but even more than the content, they have to reimagine their role in the value chain. The role in the value chain is not just about pedagogy and delivering a certain education. It is about being an ecosystem enabler.
So it's not enough to add, let's say, courses on startups and artificial intelligence. You have to integrate these things in practically
With the
everything your
startups,
students are doing.
because the worst way to encourage entrepreneurship is to have a course in entrepreneurship. I still remember my MBA. I am Lucknow, and I love that teacher, by the way. But like the course in entrepreneurship was like so sleepy.
Yes.
Like if there is a real entrepreneur, is he or she going to be teaching a course in entrepreneurship? So it's not, it needs, of course, that enablement and that, how do you, almost take the young kids on a journey is very important. It is not that koi tapak ke in entrepreneur paida hota hai. It is also a journey, has to be nurtured, but the process of doing that is very different and is probably not in the classroom.
Right, and on the entrepreneurship bit, I want to ask you this question, that while you did say that it's not like you have to be a tech-first entrepreneur in the next few years to come as well, but do you think there could be a close to point of saturation for this wave as well? I'm not saying there will be, I'm just simply posing a question to you. You might find this completely outrageous.
No.
But A, that's part A of the question. And part B is that do you think most of these startups that are going to come in the next few years are going to be tech-led startups? Because we've solved for more basic problems already. We need now more tech-based startups. Would you agree with that?
Again, there are two questions. Yeah, I think I think, see, there are going to be two types of startups. Okay, I think there will be startups which are going to impact the AI infrastructure layer, which are trying to build LLMs, which are trying to, do something in that tech layer. There are going to be startups like that, but I think the much bigger opportunity to my mind is in the application layer by an order of magnitude. Okay, you're right, Priyanshi, that the more startups that I see today are in the tech layer. Okay, and they should be. I think there are problems to be solved there, but the order of magnitude bigger opportunity is the application layer, which requires different set of skills, which actually we don't have. We have to build in India. The tech skills we still have. Okay, maybe the question there is that from tech, how do we go to deep tech? That we are not solving shallow problems, but we are solving deep problems. Yes. That is perhaps the thing to be done there, and there is a lot of conversation that is happening around that. But see, US and China are far ahead in that, Priyanshi. For us, it's a catch-up on that front. Yeah. See, we talk about building a Bharat LLM. The reality is you go to AWS Bedrock, and more than 150 LLMs are available, let alone SLMs. Okay. So we develop LLMs. We should, from a self-reliance perspective, we should develop a chip from a self-reliance perspective, but that is unlikely to be a competitive advantage. Number two, that is unlikely to generate a lot of jobs. So I think the competitive advantage and the jobs are going to happen in the application layer, but that requires domain knowledge, that requires problem solving, and I think more work needs to be done to develop those skills.
And in these series of opportunities, where do you think India fits? Because we've spoken about how the United States, despite its many issues, is still leading this race as things stand. How do you think, what do you think India needs to do differently to not miss out on this bandwagon, given that more opportunities are going to be in the application stage, as you said?
Yeah. See, see, see. I just want to. I forgot there was this thing about saturation that you asked, which I did not answer, and very possible, Priyanshi. So most mega trends, tend to be overhyped in the short term, which I think is happening, and they are also underhyped in the long term. Okay, so I do think that is the case. It's a very interesting question that you asked, because I do think that most people don't understand the very fundamental implications of AI from a medium long term perspective. From a short term perspective, there's a lot of bhed-chal. Yeah. So there are a lot of startups that are getting funded. Anything with AI, you put like if I were to put in Cedo.ai, I think the valuation of my company may double, triple, or more.
I was just speaking to an investor a few days ago, and he said, पैसा तो बह रहा है, आप कुछ भी आइडिया लेकर आइए, पैसा जा कहाँ रहा है किसी को पता नहीं है, पर बह रहा है investors.
Because we are still in that. So it's a very fair point. I think it's still, we are still in that phase, where there is a lot of irrational exuberance.
Would you call it a bubble, a possible bubble?
No, see, there is a bubble. There is a bubble, and that bubble we will see some collapse or something as well. But what I want us to be very clear about is that AI is not blockchain. Okay, AI is not Bitcoin. Okay, AI is a much more fundamental trend. Okay, so let's first be clear about it. Then coming to your question about India's competitive advantage. So let's assess, where different players are, what is the opportunity for us. See, United States is of course the hub of innovation, driven by this very formidable combination of the educational infrastructure, the big tech, and then the whole venture capital ecosystem. I think the innovation throughput is truly phenomenal. It's very exciting if you're in Silicon Valley today. I think the challenge with the American model of technology, which has always been there but is getting exposed more with AI, is that the American model is very capital intensive. It is also very energy consumption intensive. Yeah, उसको है कि बस झोंक दो इसमें, झोंकते रहो, ठीक है, जब तक कुछ अच्छा ना निकल जाए. And the issue with that, of course, is that we are going to burn the planet even at faster speed, because the number of data centers we need to build is just absolutely crazy. Even if you let that aside, if my clients, which are the big banks, the telecom companies in the US, if they actually buy and apply what NVIDIA and OpenAI and Amazon want them to build, the cost will be infinite, the ROI will be zero. Okay? So the implication is that there is very clearly a need for an alternate model for innovation, frugal innovation. Now that's where China is coming in. Okay, so China has really super, innovation here. It's not a copycat like DeepSeek. Its consumption need is 1/5 to 1/10. So China is onto something which I think is really, really, they have a lead over America here. Yeah, and the way they have also they're applying AI from a citizen services perspective is incredible. But the challenge with China is trust. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. I think if we then sequentially go, that is what I think presents an opportunity for India. Yeah. Right. I think in India there is definitely, our strength is not capital. Our strength is not the deep tech ecosystem. Although we have to build it over the next, but it's not going to be built overnight. Our natural advantage is our scale of talent,
Yes.
and also that we have a lot of data available. We have the largest reservoir of data in the world. Even all these AI models can't be built without our data.
Yes.
Especially in sectors like healthcare or cybersecurity, there is no way you can do anything without India's data. Yeah. So that is, I think, the opportunity for us, which is the application layer. I keep on coming back to it, but it will not happen naturally. We have to do a number of things. That even this applications, AI applications, need the AI infrastructure, which is expensive. Yeah. And that is where, the point I've been trying to make from a policy perspective in India is that, look, we have a great digital public infrastructure, DPI. Time has come to reimagine, re-envision that. So the DPI scales up to be that enabling ecosystem for AI startups. That we are making available compute and data, and data as services, models as APIs or services, which makes it very easy for startups to get started and reduces the cost of build for them significantly.
Right.
So I think that there is a huge opportunity. India could be the dark horse. Okay, right now we are significantly behind US and China, but there are some very significant issues in both the American and the Chinese models,
Yes.
which could be the opportunity for India, but it will not happen naturally. We have to take many
Very conscious
concerted efforts. There is at the policy level, but even more fundamentally, Priyanshi, is the shift in mindset and skills that we discussed earlier.
I now want to come to you from that institutional or policy level to an individual level. Very actionable points for the people who are sitting in the audience or who will be listening to this later on the internet. Very actionable insights or advice on how they can prepare themselves for this. Even if they don't expect anything from the institutes or from the policy, what should they do as of now?
That's what is my point. Don't expect anything from anybody. You have to focus on yourself. See, that's where.
And that's where your book comes in. That focus on the humanness that's inherent.
Then the point is that how do you translate that concept into an actionable framework? And that's where I have proposed this framework. I call it the possible framework. Mumkin hai. So it's kind of it's also kind of giving like a positive thing that. So possible framework it's an anagram. It has, it's like 8 mantras, which are timeless mantras, have always existed. And the 8 are the core skills, number 1, P for problem solving. In a world of AI, which is very driven, where problem solving is very driven by machines, but problem solving is still such a core skill that as humans, we need to be building that. It is both about structured problem solving at one end. It's this problem solving is a process, and we have to learn that, we have to teach that. We don't teach our children problem solving,
Right.
but it also has to be backed up with wisdom. Yeah, because in a world which is overflowing with data, and most of that data is available to everybody. What's the differentiation? That differentiation is wisdom. So that's P, problem solving. O is openness. Openness to change. We have to cultivate that. See, the problem is with even a little bit of success, what happens is hubris. That you stop listening. I'm King Kong. And that's the end. This is AI age is a time of enormous change. So that cultivating that humility and constant like a sponge you're absorbing. S for spirituality. You had mentioned spirituality earlier, and I think it's actually to me a very, very fundamental point. People often ask me why spirituality in a conversation around AI. I say it's very, very necessary.
You almost never hear those two words together. This is possibly the first time.
See, the AI or the digital age more broadly is an era of noise.
Right.
Too much data, so therefore too many signals which inundate us, which bombard us. And it's very difficult to then, how do you get clarity? And for me, getting clarity is a process of going inside myself. For me, that process, that method may be meditation. For somebody else, that may be prayer or jogging or gardening.
Yes.
But my submission is that in a world of noise, where so much is happening outside, going inside, inside ourselves is very important, which is spirituality. Then S also for sports, which is also sometimes unusual for people. But I argue that in a virtual world, the physical aspect becomes very important, and that's why sports is also about teamwork. It's also about resilience.
Yes.
Both very important. Then I for impact. Impact is, and Harish Bhatt spoke so brilliantly about the Tata story just before this, and it was really a story of impact.
Yes.
The impact is about this core human desire that we have to make a difference, to make a positive difference to the world, to leave a legacy. And that is a very core thing, how we are different from machines.
Right.
Anything which is about achieving a goal, machines do very well.
Yes.
But as humans, we are able to constantly frame and reframe our goals in very different ways.
Right.
And that is impact. B is for balance.
Yeah.
So, the nature of everything in life is duality. Life is full of, every aspect is full of contradictions, short term, long term, man, machine in this case.
Yeah.
You can't choose one versus other. You have to optimize both, and I think that's a very, very going to be an even more important skill, mastering duality or balance. L for leadership. AI is the end of era of jobs, but it is also the end of era of managers.
Right.
And because what is defined is not there.
Yes.
It's too much change, and that's what a leader is, that you provide clarity, you provide direction. And then finally, the hero of the story is entrepreneurship.
Yes, of course.
Which we have spoken quite a bit about.
Right.
So possible framework, but if once I did this and I realized that even the 8 maybe becomes too much for some people, so then I've tried to also further simplify. It's like in school, we used to have these kunjis.
Yeah.
Did you ever use a kunji?
Yes.
Yeah. So the kunji is like, or the the Gita Sar is 3 C's. So the first is context.
Yes.
That if you look at what AI is able to do, see today we are, with AI, models get to 70 to 80, 85, maybe 90%.
Right.
There is still a 10 to 30% gap,
Yes.
which is the human in the loop. And that how does that human make that decision or add value?
Right.
And that is context.
Right.
I think we are going to hear this word context a lot more.
Right.
And that's a key thing. The second is creativity.
Yes.
Which is obvious that machines are also participating in the creative process, but the human creativity is very multidimensional. And the final C is connection, which is the human connection.
So in a way, you've interestingly pointed out that at a time when it's the talk of the hustle culture, work 14 hours a day, 18 hours a day, don't focus on anything else in your life other than work, you've pointed out how you need to focus on, you need to look inside a little bit, you need to look inwards, you need to focus on things like spirituality and sports, which is a very refreshing perspective at a time when we are taught that we need to make work our entire life. I'm going to end this conversation with a very quick rapid fire. The most overused AI word. This needs to be rapid.
Automation.
The biggest myth about artificial intelligence in one sentence.
AGI or singularity.
Your favorite AI tool.
Has to be ChatGPT.
One AI book or podcast that you think every youngster needs to read or watch.
Human Edge in the AI Age.
Of course. Other than this, of course.
Coming Wave by Mustafa Sulaiman.
Fantastic. The most important human soft skill out of the ones that you've spoken about in your book.
Empathy.
And one quote to describe the current AI wave. Or a movie. You could use a movie reference.
I mentioned it earlier that all great trends are overhyped in the short term,
Yes.
underhyped in the long term.
And last question, you spoke about balance. So do you agree with the Narayan Murthy school of thought of 70-hour work weeks, or do you disagree with that?
I agree with that.
You agree? Then how do you achieve balance?
Look, I think the concept of balance is misunderstood. I think the concept of balance is about doing, not making a compromise, being able to do both aspects well.
So while working 70 hours a week, you should focus on these.
The
other-
world out there is so intense. There is so much happening. It's so competitive. If you think that it's a stroll in the park and you're going to succeed, you're going to do something great and meaningful, I think you're greatly mistaken. You're
That's-
greatly mistaken. But that 70 hours a week doesn't need to be a pain. It doesn't need to be a drudgery. It doesn't need to be an imposition. That's the assumption. For me, it's I feel so possessed. I feel that at 54 years of age, kahani shuru hi hui hai. I feel so blessed that I'm alive in this age. There is so much to do. There is so much to create. There is so much to solve. And that 70 hours seem less to me actually.
So those 70 hours should come naturally to you, and you shouldn't be working.
It should be
those-
creating. See, the issue is that whatever we do, should create energy, not consume energy. There is an assumption, and it's a very, very wrong assumption that, your work is something which consumes energy. For me, it
Right.
creates energy.
Right. So you shouldn't work those 70 hours just to tick that box off that you've worked 70 hours, but because you want to.
Yeah.
And you need to find something that makes you want to do that. That's
Absolutely.
the most important advice here, I think. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for taking out the time. Thanks for being a lovely audience. Thank you.
Thank you.